and welcome to Weekly News Highlights. Let's begin with the keywords that made headlines this week. President Lee Jae-myung hosted South Korea's top business leaders at the Blue House to discuss ways to drive regional growth and create more job opportunities for young people. Consumer prices in South Korea rose 2% in January, marking the slowest pace in 5 months, with stable oil prices helping ease inflation. Sharp increases in food prices, however, are still putting pressure on household budgets. The National Assembly's extraordinary session kicked off this week with key issues on the table, from judicial reform to special bills. President Lee Jae-myung is strengthening his engagement with South Korea's top business leaders to build a more balanced economic ecosystem. In a key meeting with conglomerates, including Samsung and Hyundai, he called for expanded job opportunities and investment in regions outside the capital. Our Blue House correspondent Song Yujin has the details.
President Lee Jae-myung is stepping up his outreach to business leaders as he seeks to build a healthier economic ecosystem.
경제는 생태계라고 하는데 너무 당연한 얘기이기도 하지만 풀밭도 있고 메뚜기도 있고 토끼도 있고 그래야 호랑이도 건강하게 살아갈 수 있는 것인데 자칫 잘못하면 풀밭이 다 망가질 경우도 있겠다.
President Lee invited leaders of South Korea's major conglomerates, including Samsung Electronics, SK, Hyundai Motor Group, and LG, to the Blue House on Wednesday. Acknowledging that their efforts have helped put the domestic economy back on track, the president said the next task is to ensure that the benefits of growth are shared more evenly.
어쨌든 이 성장의 과실, 성장의 기회들이 중소기업에게도 또 수도권 중심인 대한민국에서는 좀 지방에도 또 이미 일정한 위치를 차지한 기성세대뿐만이 아니라 새롭게 우리 사회에 진입하는 청년 세대들에게도 좀 골고루 옮기가.
For that, Lee urged business leaders to expand job openings for young people, pledging that the government will increase financial support for employment and training programs run by businesses. He also laid out plans to expand budget and infrastructure investment beyond the capital, calling on businesses to shift away from capital-focused growth. In response, the 10 companies that attended Wednesday's gathering pledged to invest 270 trillion won, roughly $186 billion in areas outside the capital region over a 5-year period, starting with 66 trillion won this year alone. At the same time, they announced plans to increase hiring beyond their original targets.
The 10 companies plan to hire a total of 51,600 workers this year, about 2,500 more than last year, notably 66%, or roughly 34,200 will be first-time hires.
Wednesday's meeting was President Lee's latest efforts to rally the business community behind two of his top policy priorities, reducing regional disparity and creating more jobs for future generations. He delivered the same message to foreign invested companies last week. 송희진, 아리랑뉴스.
The extraordinary session began at the National Assembly this week and is looking to handle a wide range of issues from judicial reform to special bills. For more on this, we have our political correspondent An Sung-jin with us in the studio today. Welcome, Sung-jin.
Great to be here, Soo-jin.
Great to have you. So, Sung-jin, with the extraordinary session happening this week, what did we see happen at the National Assembly? Can you walk us through that?
Right, Soo-jin, the extraordinary session kicked off on Monday at the National Assembly, and it started off with the National Assembly address from the Democratic Party floor leader, Han Byung-do, on Tuesday. Han said in his speech that the foremost governing principle of the Lee administration is the lives of the people, noting the Democratic Party's highest value is likewise the livelihoods of the people. He reaffirmed the party's commitment to prosecutorial reform to bring a complete separation between investigative and prosecution powers.
The Democratic Party will eradicate any signs of insurrection and complete prosecution reform, judicial reform, and major social reforms.
The main opposition People Power Party delivered its National Assembly address on Wednesday, where the leader Jang Dong-hyuk called for direct talks with President Lee Jae-myung amid growing public anxiety over political and economic uncertainty. He emphasized cooperation rather than political confrontation and requested talks with the president on inflation, house prices, and U.S. trade pressure, among other issues. However, Tang also criticized the ruling Democratic Party for undermining the judicial system.
Once again, I request a meeting with President Lee Jae-myung. Having the president and the leader of the main opposition party sit down to discuss current issues will alleviate the public's anxiety.
I see. And we also saw a plenary session almost take place this week as well. So what's the schedule for that?
Right, so regarding the plenary session, the ruling and opposition parties had negotiated when the schedule would be. The ruling Democratic Party had originally pushed to convene on Thursday, arguing that it needed sufficient time to process all pending legislation. On the other hand, the People Power Party favored a session on February 12th instead of the 5th, warning that if it pushes through with a session, it may resort to a filibuster to block the passage of bills. Following a meeting on Wednesday, both parties agreed on holding a plenary session on the 12th, prioritizing the passage of more than 80 non-contentious bills related to people's livelihoods. The February extraordinary session, which includes the Lunar New Year holiday, will run through the end of the month. It will begin next Monday with 3 days of interpellations of government officials, covering a wide range of issues including politics, diplomacy, national security, and the economy. This is then followed by bill reviews in standing committees and concluding with a plenary session on the 28th.
Right, then, so what are some notable bills to be discussed at the upcoming plenary session?
As mentioned, the National Assembly is looking to prioritize non-contentious livelihood-related bills. The biggest item on the agenda is the special bill that enables South Korea's large-scale investment commitments in key U.S. industries. While the DP aims to pass the bill as early as this month, the PPP insists that a ratification process is necessary as it could result in a heavy fiscal burden, setting the stage for heightened partisan conflict. In addition to the special bill, the DP said it would swiftly advance prosecutorial and judicial reform bills, including plans to abolish the prosecutor's office. The National Assembly will also look into a special legislation that enables administrative integration among regional governments ahead of the June 3rd local elections. So we will have to keep an eye on how things are going to unfold for the two parties at the upcoming plenary sessions.
All right, thank you so much for the wrap-up today, Sung-jin.
Thanks for having me, Soo-jin.
As South Korea and the U.S. move closer to the handover wartime operational control, discussions are intensifying over a potential timeline for the transfer. With the key milestones set for their upcoming defense talks in Washington this October, our defense correspondent Kim Bo-gun reports on the path ahead.
With South Korea and the U.S. speeding up Washington's transition of wartime operational control to Seoul, the two countries are reportedly considering suggesting a specific timeline for the handover at their annual defense talks, the security consultative meeting that will be held in October this year in Washington, D.C. According to military sources, the year 2028 is highly likely to be a target schedule given that U.S. President Donald Trump's term is set to end in early 2029. Among the three-step verification assessment for Seoul to regain wartime OPCON, the first stage, initial operational capability, was completed in 2019, and the second phase, the assessment of full operational capability, is nearing its end. Once the two allies complete the verification of the FOC, their defense chiefs are expected to suggest a specific timeline for the last phase, full mission capability, at the upcoming SCM. The last phase is widely regarded to be dependent on a political assessment made by the two countries' leaders. As part of efforts to get ready for the OPCON transfer, the two countries are reportedly planning to hold their annual springtime joint exercise, the Freedom Shield, in March as planned, without any downsizing. The exercise is widely expected to take place from March 9th to the 19th, primarily focusing on a command post exercise, a simulation-based joint drill in a scenario involving a full-scale conflict on the Korean peninsula. Pundits have already started discussing military reform to prepare for the aftermath of the OPCON transfer.
Recent U.S. policy and statements from South Korea's defense officials make clear that Seoul is primarily responsible for its own defense. The OPCON transfer is inevitably coming. It is not a political choice. The focus now is on how to operate after the transfer, not when it will happen.
With the transfer of wartime operational control from Washington to Seoul drawing closer, the South Korean military is stepping up discussions on comprehensive defense reforms to ensure the effective exercise of UPCON. Kim Bo-kyung, ArirangNews.
As North Korea prepares for a major political event, all eyes are on whether Kim Jong-un's daughter will make an appearance and what that could signal for the regime's future leadership. Our Oh Seung reports.
North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un is expected to take center stage at the Workers' Party Congress, the regime's biggest political event in 5 years. But attention may also turn to his young daughter Kim Joo-ae if she's waiting in the wings, as questions grow about her future role. Kim Joo-ae first appeared publicly in November 2022, accompanying her father at an intercontinental ballistic missile launch. Cited as beloved and respected child by state media, she looks to be in her early teens. Succession rumours have swirled, but she had only appeared on a small number of occasions until this year. In January, state media showed Kim Joo-ae alongside her father during a New Year visit to the Kumsusan Palace of the Sun, where the embalmed bodies of North Korea's first and second leaders lie in state.
The images show Kim Joo-ae positioned at the center, where Kim Jong-un should have been standing, signaling her potential future succession.
Since then, her media exposure has been frequent, raising speculation that she might attend the upcoming Workers' Party Congress. It's where North Korea sets its political line and reshapes its leadership structure.
If she attends, there's a strong chance she could be elected to a second command position, such as the party's first secretary or vice chair of the Central Military Commission.
Kim Jong-un himself was first brought into public view through party appointments in 2010, years before his leadership was formally consolidated at the 2016 Party Congress. Experts say Kim Jong-un may be paving the way for his daughter to take over by easing her position into the system.
Just as North Korea created the first secretary role in 2021 without public disclosure, it is also possible that even if Kim Joo-ae is appointed to a second-in-command role, this could be classified for the time being.
But structural changes could provide a hint.
Also, at a party congress, there are major reshuffles, not only at the top, but also among mid-level cadres. If Kim Joo-ae emerges as a successor, a large-scale generational turnover is likely to follow, along with increased advancement of female cadres.
There are differing views on Kim Joo-ae's role, with some analysts arguing that she may never succeed her father. But in North Korea, where optics are tightly managed, any exposure at the party congress wouldn't be accidental. Oh Seung, ArirangNews.
South Korea's inflation eased to a 5-month low in January, aligning with the Bank of Korea's 2% target thanks to stable global oil prices. Our Kim Jin-ong has the details.
According to figures released Tuesday by the Ministry of Data and Statistics, consumer prices were up 2.0% in January. That was down 0.3 percentage points from the previous month and marked the slowest pace in 5 months. The ministry attributed the eased inflation to oil prices showing no significant change, which reduced upward pressure on overall prices. Despite the improved indicators, however, sharp increases in some items are adding to consumers' grocery bills ahead of the holiday season. Food prices rose 2.6% from a year earlier, with apples, a key item for the Lunar New Year, up around 11%.
Prices have risen significantly. Since we eat apples year-round and prices keep rising, I used to buy them in bulk, but now tend to buy less.
Prices of daily essentials remained elevated, with livestock products rising 4.1% and fishery products up 5.9%. Ahead of the holiday, the government stepped in to curb surging food prices, announcing a price stabilization package last Wednesday. The plan calls for boosting the supply of key items and allocating about $62 million to support discounts on food prices. Signs promoting government-backed discount campaigns were visible across local markets.
Our family enjoys eating dried seaweed, so we buy it often. But prices are much higher than before. Still, with a 20% government discount, I paid about $27, down from the regular price of around $41.
As the Bank of Korea says, inflation is likely to stay around the 2% range in February. Attention is turning to whether persistently high grocery prices will ease. 김준홍, 아리랑뉴스.
Humanoid robots, once only seen at tech shows, are now making their way into everyday retail. From greeting customers to going on sale for home use, Seoul is becoming a testing ground for how soon robots could become part of daily life. Our Kim Do-yeon shows us how.
A robot stands at the entrance greeting customers. It is a familiar sight for those who follow the Consumer Electronics Show, but this is not Las Vegas. It is a local electronics retailer here in Seoul. Starting this week, the humanoid model and a robotic dog have gone on sale. The human robot carries a price tag of 31 million won, or roughly $21,500 US.
I saw the exhibition passing by and thought I could see the ones that I saw on CES videos. From seeing them in real life, I feel like the future of having them at home and in our daily lives is not far off. I'm excited for further improvements from here.
Manufactured by Unitree, a Chinese robotics firm, these models were released here almost simultaneously with their launch in China. While they currently lack integrated AI features and require remote operation, the swift release signals the company's aggressive strategy to secure a foothold in the Korean market. It also highlights the growing interest in the humanoid robot market. This store has dedicated a specialized zone for the robots, the first of its kind in the country. 14 different models are on display, ranging from AI-powered elderly care assistants to educational companions. These smaller robots are designed for your desk and emotional exchanges. There are some physical exchanges as well. For example, they like to be petted. So make sure you don't cross the line, because if you hit them, they might strike back. A simpler alternative is the Sense Robot, an automated Go player. Priced at over 1.3 million won, it is a premium device, particularly when digital versions are available at little to no cost. However, it offers a tactile experience that screens cannot mimic.
Playing on computers, you have to move the mouse, but with this, you actually use stones. This makes it feel real and more fun than playing virtually.
Retailer eMart reports that the displays have already generated sales, including one of the quadruped units. However, the company states the primary objective is not immediate revenue, but to familiarize consumers with the technology that will soon become part of daily life. Kim Do-yeon, ArirangNews.
South Korea is ramping up efforts to secure rare earth metals, which are essential materials for modern technology. Park Chun has the details on this ambitious new initiative.
The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Resources unveiled on Thursday the country's first comprehensive rare earth supply chain strategy. The roadmap comes as part of an effort to enhance the country's energy capability by reducing its heavy dependence on imports, especially from China. Rare earths power everything from electric vehicle motors and high-performance magnets to semiconductors and defense systems, which are crucial components for modern technology. Yet, global powerhouses are concerned because China controls roughly 60 to 70% of global mining, 85 to 90% of refining, and over 80% of finished products such as permanent magnets. For a high-tech powerhouse like Korea, specializing in electric vehicles, batteries, and chips, not being able to secure rare earth minerals is a major vulnerability. The government's rare earth supply chain projects include the three major pillars of short-term stability, source diversification and share risks, and, lastly, local substitution. For short-term stability, the government will strengthen its cooperation with all sources, designate all 17 rare earths as critical elements, and create new detailed trade codes so it can track supplies much more accurately. Regarding the diversification of sources and shared risk, overseas project financing will see major increases from last year's 39 billion Korean won to 67.5 billion won in 2026, or around $46 million. The government will cover up to 70% of loans from last year's 50%, and if exploration fails, companies will only lose 10% of their investment instead of 20%. The Korea Mine Rehabilitation and Mineral Resources Corporation is coming back after years of being banned from direct overseas investment. The corporation will now lead high-risk projects, so private companies don't have to carry the political risk alone. Lastly, the government will offer subsidies to domestic factories that utilize recycling and change the rules governing this. It will also detail a full R&D roadmap covering the use of substitutes and launch new rare earth R&D funding under its existing innovation fund. The government added that it will focus its policy capabilities to build a foundation across the entire rare earth supply chain with unwavering resolve, creating a robust industrial structure that remains steadfast even amid changes in the external environment. 박준환, 아리랑뉴스.
BTS's highly anticipated comeback show at Gwanghwamun Square next month is sparking global excitement. With the expectation at an all-time high, details about the performance are generating widespread curiosity. Our culture correspondent Park Gun-woo has the latest.
After years on the world's biggest stage, 7 voices are returning to where their story began. The kings of K-pop, BTS, are coming back with Arirang, a live comeback show at one of Korea's most symbolic sites, Gwanghwamun Square in central Seoul. According to Seoul city officials and industry insiders, the show's host has applied to use not only the square, but also the inner grounds of Gyeongbokgung Palace. That has fueled speculation that BTS may make a ceremonial walk along the so-called King's Road, starting at Keunjeongmun Gate, passing through Hungyemun, the palace's second gate, and emerging through the 3 doors of Gwanghwamun before stepping onto the plaza where the main stage is expected to be built. Officials say discussions are still underway on whether the opening will take place live or as a pre-recorded sequence. Following the opening, all 7 members are set to perform together in front of armies from around the world, joined by dancers and the Arirang Gugak Group, a traditional Korean music ensemble. With their new album titled Arirang, Korea's most iconic folk song, the decision to begin full group promotions at this site carries special meaning. The location is both a historic landmark and a modern symbol of Korea, known for major protests and World Cup fan parks. Organizers are planning to accommodate around 15,000 people on site, with additional crowds expected nearby, including at Seoul Plaza, where people even without tickets can watch through large screens installed. Including nearby areas, officials estimate that up to 200,000 people could gather. With those numbers in mind, the Seoul Metropolitan Government held a safety meeting on Wednesday, preparing crowd control, emergency access routes, traffic plans, and multilingual safety messages. The show will also be live-streamed worldwide on Netflix. March 21st at 8 p.m., just 1 day after the album's release, BTS will make their return on a site that was once reserved for kings, but is now shared with the world. Park Gun-woo, ArirangNews.
Seoul Fashion Week makes its return for the 2026 fall-winter season at Dongdaemun Design Plaza, offering a streamlined experience that brings together runway shows, presentations, and business programs all under one roof. Our Choi Yeon-woong has the highlights.
Korean fashion drew large crowds and global attention as enthusiasts and industry insiders filled Dongdaemun Design Plaza to catch the latest trends. The 2026 Fall-Winter Seoul Fashion Week kicked off on Tuesday and runs through Sunday at DDP, featuring a total of 15 runway shows and 9 presentation events from 24 participating brands. The opening show was led by men's label Moon. Embodying the brand's philosophy of embracing the unfamiliar, the show featured military-inspired silhouettes and draping techniques that resemble paper wrapping. Unlike recent years, Seoul Fashion Week is hosting all major programs at a single venue to strengthen networking opportunities and streamline buyer-designer interactions. This season, Seoul Fashion Week enhances the viewing experience through its one-site format at DDP, serving as the global fashion business platform. The week began with the Seoul Fashion Forum under the theme The Next Chapter of K-Fashion, Deep Dive and Inspiring, welcoming around 300 fashion professionals and industry leaders. Notably, this year introduces public sessions, allowing fashion enthusiasts to join discussions and hear what the industry experts and leaders have to say.
I believe that when Korean brands broaden their perspective, move beyond imitation, and discover their own unique identity, they can succeed both globally and in Korea.
The trade show, Seoul Fashion Week's major business program, begins on Thursday, offering one-on-one consultations with 100 overseas buyers from 20 countries. Key global buyers, including Harvey Nichols, Urban Outfitters, and Club 21 Singapore, are set to attend, highlighting the growing international demand for K-fashion and Seoul Fashion Week's expanding global influence. 조영은, 아리랑뉴스.
That brings us to the end of Weekly News Highlights. Thank you for watching and enjoy the rest of your weekend.